and welcome back. So with this video we are going to start a new lecture series and we are going to discuss about the Matplotlib library in Python. So let's get started. So Matplotlib is used for data visualization. We can plot different kinds of graphs with the data we have. We can have scatter plots, we can have bar charts, we can draw we can have histograms, we can have pie charts, etc, etc. So the question is, why do we have to visualize our data? What is the need of it? There are quite a few reasons for that. One of which is when we have huge data sets, numerical values, it is kind of like hard to understand the nature of the data, the trends in data, or how the data is spread just by looking at these random numbers, right? So when we kind of plot these on kind of like graphs and all, we get kind of like an idea about how the data is spread, where are the data points located more, do we have outliers, what are the maximum values, like where is the maximum value, where are the minimum values located, is the data skewed, is it right skewed or left skewed, kind of like that, things like that. So this is why we use Matplotlib mainly for. So what we can do now is, let's go to our Jupyter notebook and let's generate some sample data and try to plot it using the Matplotlib library. Okay, cool. So first of all, obviously I need to import the library first, right? So for that I'm going to type import matplotlib.pyplot as plt. So pyplot is like an object in Matplotlib which helps us to plot these graphs. Okay, so after importing our library into the code and running the cell, what we have to do is we need to create data points, right? So for that, let's just create two lists. We have x values and we have y values. We can plot those values in x-axis and y-axis. Okay, so let's create x-axis values first and then y-axis values. Let the x-axis values be maybe some random numbers, for example 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, cool. And y-axis values, for example, let it be maybe 10 50 100 30 20, then maybe 40. Okay, so we have now like 34. We have 7 values in x and 7 values in y as well, right? Cool. In order to plot this on the x-axis and the y-axis, what you have to do is you have to type plt dot and access the plot method or the plot function, plot, and inside the bracket first provide the x values, which is the x variable, and then provide the y-axis values, which we already have, which is in the y variable. Okay, then just hit shift enter and run the cell and we have the plot here, right? We have x values on the x-axis and y values on the y-axis. We have 10 corresponding to 1, we have 50 corresponding to 2, we have 100 corresponding to 4, right? We have 100 corresponding to 3, okay, 100 corresponding to 3, etc. So the other things that you can include inside the plot function is, as you can see here, we can add a color option, right? So let's copy this and just paste it here. So we have already blue by default, so let's change it to green and see what happens. Now we have a green plot, and let's change this into red, and we have a red plot. We can change into any color we want. Let's say, for example, I want yellow, and let's see. Yeah, the graph is now yellow. Let's go with the brown as of now, and we have brown plot. Cool. Let's see what are the other things that we can pass inside it. So we have line width, right? So what line width does is it increases the size of this particular line that we have here. So let's copy that and change the value. For example, let's give it maybe 10 and see what happens. We have a more thicker line here, right? So let's change this back into 2 itself. The next thing that we have is like marker. In here it is like 0, and let's run this and see what happens. So as you can see, at every points that on our table we have markers corresponding to that. Cool. So let's see what else can we give. We have line style, right? We have, let's just give it here, and let's see what happens when we give dashed. For example, we get a different style of line. When we give if we give solid, for example, we get the previous one. Okay, so we have different options for that. You can check the documentation and give different variations in that. Yeah, so this is about the plot function, and let's see what else can we do with this graph. We are lacking something in here. We don't have the X label, we don't have the Y label, and we don't have a name for this graph, right? So let's give that first of all. So what are the axis values? So it doesn't mean anything as of now, so just give X label itself. So what we can do is plt dot X label, and inside that provide the name for the x-axis values. We don't have any particular meaning for that, so let's give X label itself. X label, maybe like with a hyphen or underscore. Okay, and then let's provide plt dot Y label, and provide the Y label. Okay, and then let's give a name for this graph. So let it be plt dot title, and let it be graph itself, or maybe plot. Okay, fine. Let's run this and see what happens. So we have name for x-axis values, y-axis values, and we have a name for this graph. Cool. So that is everything that I wanted to cover in this video. We'll continue with more functions in Matplotlib in the upcoming videos. So take care. Bye bye.